thing crashes. Record, share screen, share, notes. Yes, share the screen. Okay, now I have not lost you, and you see my notes, right?
Yes.
Okay, people are nodding their heads. Cool. Let's do this deal then. Here we go.
Okay.
So we talked about RNA viruses last time, and we left off with this video. Super boring video, super boring guy, dry voice, but showed the fact that we went RNA to DNA, and then the DNA was incorporated in the host genome, and now that person is going to have the HIV DNA in that white blood cell for their entire life, which was kind of a scary but cool but sad kind of video. So let's move on to something completely different. This is called a viroid. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky. The words that you're going to get confused on, and I'm going to warn you on this, are virus, virion, viroid. They sound so similar. Virus, you already know what that is because it's all over the news and you've all had the flu, right? Virion is a complete virus unit, DNA in the protein, ready to infect cells, virion. Viroid is really not in our vocabulary because it does not infect us. This is a short little single strand of RNA, and they're mostly going to affect plants. You are covered in enzymes that destroy RNA. I don't know why. I've worked with RNA one time in a lab, and if you breathe on it, it'll degrade the RNA. If you touch the table and the RNA touches the table, it'll degrade the RNA. For whatever reason, you're covered with enzymes that destroy RNA. So I don't know if viroids don't bother us because they literally can't because of our enzymes, or because they're just specialized to attack plants, but basically they only bother plants and they don't bother us. So that's a viroid. It's literally just a circle of RNA that infects plants. Got that already, figured that out, affects mostly plants, got it. Okay, let's go on to a prion. Prions do infect us, or we think they infect us. We don't really know that much about prions, but they're actually smaller than a viroid, and all they are is a misshapen protein. So a protein gets folded the wrong way and starts to cause disease. These aren't that well understood as of right now, but we know that they're a thing, and you've actually heard of a few of them. There's no nucleic acids, which is a fancy way of saying there's no DNA, there's no RNA. It's literally just a folded up protein that's folded the wrong way and will affect animals. So far, the animals that have been infected have all been in their brains. We're pretty sure we have one human prion that affects us. But other than that, it's been just animals. So, abnormal form of a protein. We first found this in sheep infected with a disease called scrapie. Now, you guys know I love agriculture and I would never dog on farmers, but here's the thing. We totally passed a prion by an accident through a very gross process where basically all animals need feed with minerals in it, salts, those kinds of things that you need for normal animal development. And the gross thing about this is, cows are supposed to eat grass. That's what they're designed to eat. And it didn't take long for us to find that, well, cows need calcium and cows need iron and cows need all of these other minerals. Where can we find those minerals cheap? Really, really, really cheaply. And so we started to make these minerals and mine these minerals, but the goal is to get the cheapest feed you can. And we found that we could take a sheep, butcher the sheep, carve up all the meat and sell the meat, but then it had bones and guts and brains and spinal cords that were filled with calcium and iron and magnesium. And we're like, what if we just grind up dead sheep bodies, powderize them, and sell them as a feed supplement? I mean, the calcium and the iron and stuff's all in there, right? So we might as well do that. So we did that for a long time, and we fed our domesticated cattle ground up sheep brains and sheep spinal cords and sheep bones. But since it was a fine powder, the cow didn't really know any better. And we accidentally created a new disease. Anybody know what it's called? Unmute your mic and shout it out if you know it.
Corona.
Coronavirus? No, not coronavirus. Coronavirus is a bunch of Chinese wet markets eating bats or something like that. Oh, I shouldn't say that. This is going on YouTube. I can't say that. I'm sorry. It's going on YouTube. Coronavirus did not come from Chinese wet markets where people eat bats. Maybe. We'll find out later. Whoopsies. This is how Mr. Stecker gets kicked off YouTube. All right. Anybody else want to guess the disease we accidentally gave our moo cows?
AIDS.
Mad cow.
AIDS. Wrong. Mad cow disease. Who said mad cow disease? Winner. Good job, Tori.
Oh, my dad has that.
Or as you guys like to call it, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, which means the brain inside that looks like a sponge because the protein is eating away pockets of their brain like every stupid zombie movie you've ever seen. And so naturally, people lost their cool, like really lost their cool, because the logical step was, oh my goodness, if you take sheep with scrapie and feed them to cows, and the cows get a disease that eats their brain, and then I eat the cow, ... and the whole world like freaked out. They're like, stop eating beef, stop feeding ground up sheep bodies to cows. And farmers were like, yeah, that totally makes sense, my bad. And so far, mad cow disease has not been transported to people, so hooray for us. And since there's a very limited palate in America for beef spinal cords and brains, we're probably going to be okay. But super bad idea anyway. Let your cows eat grass, buy a salt lick, and don't feed them dead sheep, right? Whew, what a deal, I tell you. America, it's a cool place. Mad cow disease, there's BSE, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, thought to have spread by feeding cows infected sheep brains. How could we not have seen that being a bad idea? I don't know. Maybe we could feed them grass? I don't know. What do I know? I'm not a farmer. All right. Humans have a super sad disease called Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. We're like 99% sure this is a prion. It does cause pitting in the brain. It looks like it's mostly genetic. It's always fatal, and there's no cure. The bad thing about prions is although they're very, very rare, to my knowledge, I'm not a doctor, there's no vaccines, there's no antibiotics, it's just a protein. So there's nothing you can really do about it, which is a really bad deal. Locally, we have chronic wasting disease in our deer. Whoopsies, I drew a line through wasting. Sorry. We have chronic wasting disease in our deer. We found this in Rapid City's deer herd last year. People feed the deer. We have way too many deer in city limits. They're way too comfortable around people. And when you get too many deer in one area, you will get chronic wasting. Every winter, the city government hires a company that comes out and baits the deer in and then shoots them in the head with sniper rifles at night. And they harvest hundreds of deer annually. But it's a win-win because while it brings the deer population in town down, we harvest all the meat for Sportsmen Against Hunger and we feed the homeless people with the meat, which is cool until we found chronic wasting in the meat. And then we got a little less excited about it because obviously we don't want to give our homeless population or anybody else who's getting food from whatever, feeding South Dakota or whatever it is, chronic wasting, right? And so we're a little nervous about that. So then we stopped giving the meat away and it caused this big problem. But we do have chronic wasting in the Black Hills. We get a little bit with elk. We get a little bit with deer. We get this with Wind Cave had chronic wasting. Places where there's a very limited water source, you'll get chronic wasting. You get the same pitting in the brain. It looks like a sponge. The deer get really, really thin, and because their brain's degrading, they'll do really stupid things. They're out in the middle of the day. They're not afraid of people. They're easy to shoot, and the hunters are shooting these guys and like, oh, I can't believe that was so easy to kill that deer, right? And you can send their heads in for free testing and find out if they have chronic wasting. But that's a problem there too. All right, so here's a prion. Get you a picture here. Here's the normal shape the protein should be. Here's the abnormal form, and in the abnormal form, it's causing this disease. Another thing that compounds this, we've noticed that diseases like, what is it? Blue tongue. I'm trying to think what that's called. Epizootic hemorrhagic disease, I think is what it's called. And this other disease, your chronic wasting, they're really bad in dry years. And we think that has to do with basically dry years and a deer population that's too large. The deer are all congregating near the water. To compound things, I don't know why this is, but when an animal's wounded or dying, it's a natural instinct to go to water. So basically the deer gets sick, goes to water. Here it's in the rut, so bucks just can't stop being jerks to each other. So this guy's going to die in the water. That protein's going to get in the water. This guy's going to drink it. This guy's going to drink it. And this kind of spreads quickly through the water. So chronic wasting disease, got it. Bovine spongiform encephalopathy, got it. And Creutzfeldt-Jacobs in people, got it. Questions on prions? I'm looking at all your faces. I see no questions. Awesome. A thumbs up. Thanks, Doug. What time are we at? Does anybody know? I don't have a time on my computer here.
It's
2:20.
Okay, cool. We're doing great. I just hear my kids screaming inside, so I think they can fight for 10 more minutes without anything being seriously injured. So they'll be fine. Like they're fine. I'm not even worried about it. They're good kids, and they're tough, so they won't kill each other. Or maybe they will. Okay, viral replication. We've noticed that basically we've been able to take pictures of what's called a T4 bacteriophage. I don't care if you remember that name, but essentially we could take scanning electron micrographs of viruses infecting bacteria, and that's how we learn how viruses do what they do. So T4 bacteriophages pretty much essentially just take on E. coli, and they'll kill bacteria in the ocean and all kinds of stuff. And you don't have to draw this guy, but just get the idea. They have a head that's an icosahedron and has DNA in it. Then they have a tail that can actually dock to the bacteria and shoot DNA into the bacterium. This is what they look like a little moon lander. Here's their icosahedron. This would be capsid, right? This is their capsid. Here's the DNA. They land on the bacterium. They inject this little hollow protein that looks like a needle, and the DNA goes into the bacteria. And we've been able to take pictures of this, which is really, really cool. And you don't have to memorize any of that stuff, but just kind of get the idea of how they work. And that's a T4 bacteriophage. Here's an actual scanning electron micrograph of a T4 bacteriophage, which is pretty cool because we can actually take pictures small enough to see what they look like. All right. Avery, do you have a question, or is your camera just frozen? His hand is up, but it's frozen. Shake his head no. Perfect. Okay, so let's go through the lytic cycle. The lytic cycle is a word you've seen already with hydrolysis was lyse, and where else have you seen this? Plasmolysis was lyse. What's the word lyse mean? Anybody want to guess? Anybody remember? Going once, going twice? I'm seeing a lot of blank stares. It means to break or to burst, okay? Hydrolysis was to break with water, and that's what lyse means. And so hydrolysis is to break or to burst. So with viruses, as far as the way you structure your notes, there's two ways they can reproduce. The lytic cycle, which is bad, and the lysogenic cycle, which is worse, okay? So we're doing the lytic cycle first. And basically what is, oh, you guys hear that? My headphones must be going crazy. Virulence is a term you should know. It's the ability for a pathogen to affect cells, okay? So there's lots of things that aren't virulent to us. So they might be virulent to other things, but a pathogen that can affect you is virulent. And so the lytic cycle is when viruses are being very virulent. The lytic cycle is the activity of a virulent virus, and there's 5 steps. Step 1 is attachment, okay? So the virus has to attach to you. We've talked about this before in the surface protein specificity. If the virus, you inhale it, but it can't land anywhere, you're immune. Congratulations. Genetic diversity did you a favor. That's awesome. But if the virus can attach to you, then it attaches to the host via special receptor site. And if there's no specific attachment site, the virus can't attach to the cell. Certain cells and certain people, the viruses can kind of get these folks and dock and get into the cell. And that's where kind of problems begin. And so after that, step 2 is called entry. Sometimes the whole virus comes in. Sometimes it just shoots DNA in. Sometimes it just shoots RNA in. It doesn't matter. The virus gets in. That's all that matters. It's the DNA gets into your cell, and that's a bad thing. Step 3 is called replication, which means we're going to copy that viral DNA over and over and over, or we're going to copy the viral RNA over and over and over, making a ton of baby viruses. And then transcription is RNA to protein. And so RNA to protein, we're going to make more viral capsids with transcription, okay? We'll take a chance and try to write capsids. That's what we're doing with transcription. We're making proteins, okay? Oh boy, that handwriting's bad. There, okay, we made capsids. Whew, lots of them. And the virus makes lots of copies of itself, and your cell is a factory that just makes lots of baby viruses. So that's step 3. how's this? Give me a thumbs up if I'm going the right pace. Give me a thumbs down if I'm going too fast and I need to slow down for you to take notes. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs down. Thank you. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, cool. So we're gonna slow down for just a minute and let you guys write, because I've got about half the class saying, "Take a breath, Mr. Stecker. We don't have this PowerPoint." Be a great time for me to go check out my kids. There was screaming, now there's silence. Maybe that's good. It's either really good or really bad.
Good.
Should I check on them? Kids, are you alive? Yeah, there's no answer. I feel like that means yes. You feel like that means yes? Oh, I see him. Hey, come here. Are you being good? Are you waking up, baby brother? Are you being noisy? Okay, go be good. All right. One of them is still alive. Out of 3, that's pretty good, right? Okay. Are we good now? Are we in good shape? Gosh, I shouldn't joke like that. This is going on YouTube. Anyways, whatever. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. All we've done is mention coronavirus, Chinese wet markets, and my kids in the same video. I feel like that's totally fine. All right. Step 4, assembly. So assembly is a super simple step. We're literally going to take the DNA that we copied, and we're going to put it in the capsid. So replication, we copied our DNA and made more DNA. All we have to do now is take the DNA and put it into the capsids, and you've made a virion. Okay, so the protein goes around the new DNA, and you have a baby virus or a virion, and that is going to go over and over and over and over again till your cell that used to be a nice, healthy lung cell is now filled with baby viruses. So filled that it's going to rupture, hence the term lytic, lyse, to break or to burst. You're so full of baby viruses, the cell breaks. And when it breaks, all the baby viruses fly out of the cell to attack nearby cells and make you even more sick. And then it's a race between your white blood cells, who are going to find viruses and eat them as fast as they can until they're so full of baby viruses that they die, and the viruses who are trying to replicate fast enough that the white blood cells can't catch up with them. And that's the race of a viral infection. Sound like fun? It's not. I'm just kidding. I think the average kiddo fights off like 50 or 100 viruses a year when they're 2 to 3 years old. So you guys have kicked more virus butt than you know. Step 5, release. So like we said, the cell is so full of baby viruses that it finally breaks. All the cellular contents are leached out into the environment, and the baby viruses escape as well. So all the organelles that we use to make baby viruses are not replaced. We're not making those proteins anymore. Those organelles are dying. The cell itself dies, and the enzyme produced by the virus breaks down the cell membrane, and new virions escape into the environment to infect other neighboring cells. And that's what release is. Lytic viruses. Let's see. Has anybody ever had influenza? Thumbs up for I've had influenza in my life. A, B, any influenzas? Okay, 4, 5. Okay, good enough. Most of us had an influenza, right? So influenza is a great example of a lytic cycle virus. You start to feel sick, you get a high fever, you get fatigue, and this is in your respiratory system. If you have asthma or some underlying respiratory issues, you might have a tough time breathing. And for a period of time, 2 days, 5 days, the virus just wrecks your world, and you're sick and you're coughing up baby viruses and infecting other people, and you're just feeling terrible. Now, after that period of time passes, 2 days, 5 days, whatever, you get healthy, fever comes down, energy comes back, you're feeling good. That was a lytic cycle virus. In that 2 to 5 day period where things were going bad, you were really, really ill, and those baby viruses were coming out of you really quick. And then your white blood cells caught up, killed the viruses faster than they were getting into your cells, and then you were able to build up antibodies and immunity to those viruses for the future. Now, the next time somebody coughed the same influenza virus on you, you would be immune to it. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. All right. So Sorry, I just realized there were 13 chat messages I hadn't responded to. It sounds okay though. Death, zombie cows, and auto tune. I feel like we're on track. I feel good about that. Okay, so anyways, lytic cycle, you're sick, you beat it, it's over, life goes on. All right. The lysogenic cycle, in my opinion, would be a little bit worse, okay? Because what's going to happen is you're going to never really get rid of that virus. So here's your lytic cycle. The virus attaches, the DNA enters, you make lots of viral DNA, we assemble the viral DNA and viral proteins, the cell breaks open and releases new baby viruses that find new baby cells, and around and around and around the cycle goes until the organism, is dead, or their white blood cells and immune system can take on the viruses, whichever comes first. Okay, so that's lysis and the lytic cycle. Maybe I can check the time. How are we doing on time? 31. Okay, well, let's go over lysogenic and then we'll call it. This is a pretty simple little deal. All right. As opposed to lytic cycle, some viruses get into the from Carson to me. Did you get my lab report today? I think so, Carson, yes. As opposed to lytic cycle, some viruses enter the host cell and remain inactive for long periods of time. In my opinion, this is actually worse because here's what's going to happen. The virus will go into you, okay? But instead of you getting like super, super sick, it's actually going to take its DNA and it's going to insert that into your DNA. And then every time you make a new cell, you'll copy the virus's DNA. So a great example of this is a cold sore, okay? You get a cold sore, which is, I think, a herpes DNA virus, if I'm thinking right. So you get a cold sore, and the virus is in the epithelial tissue of your lip, right? And you have this cold sore, and it's an annoying thing, but it's not going to kill you, not by a long shot, right? But the cold sore goes away, or at least it looks like it goes away. It feels like it goes away. You look normal, like you have no cold sore, but the DNA for that virus is in the epithelial tissues of your lip. And every time you make new skin cells, you copy the new virus DNA. And that new virus DNA just hangs out in the cells, unexpressed, hiding in your genome. Now, months go by, years go by, and you're stressed, or you're sick, or you're sleep deprived, or whatever, tells your immune system that it's just a little bit weak. And for some reason, the virus can sense that and will flare up. And this cold sore will come out of nowhere and it will re-enter basically a lytic cycle of making new baby viruses in the hopes that you'll spread that cold sore to somebody else. Itch your lip and shake their hand, or you kiss them, or whatever, and you get that virus on them. And then it gets in their genome and just hides out. And every time the cell is replicated, it replicates the viral DNA and it just hangs out and hides until a good time is there for it to take over the cell and make new baby viruses. So that's a lysogenic cycle. It's not always actively making you sick. It just hangs out in your DNA and hides there, which is really, really cool. So, and kind of scary, right? Because you're never going to get rid of it. Like if you have a cold sore, not to be a Debbie Downer, you might not have a cold sore right now, but you're never going to get rid of that viral DNA in the epithelial tissues of your lip. It's going to be there. Every time you do mitosis, you copy that viral genome. It's part of your DNA now. So we're a little bit past 10:30. I think we're probably going to shut it off there. Please do read the lytic and the lysogenic cycle. It does not have to be it doesn't have to be today. You decide when you want to read it. It's up to you. You don't have to turn it in with the questions answered. It's just a really good description of what we're talking about right now. It's fair game for your test, but it's really just in addition to what's on here. So if you have any questions for me at all, you can go ahead and unmute your speakers. I'll stop the recording. Here, let me just stop recording right now. Pause, share. No, stop video. That sounds like that's logical. Oh, nope, that's not a recording. Sorry. I'll figure it out. Anyways, go ahead and ask some questions and I'll trim the video at the end. I'll stop the recording at the end. What's your, any questions about what's going on this week, Thursday, Friday, anything?
Is the Quizlet on Edmodo yet?
Ooh, that's a good question. No, I do not think so, but it's a pretty big Quizlet, so I can actually post it today. It wouldn't hurt to have a few days to review it before your test. Great question. Any other questions? Nothing? Going once, going twice? Okay. How you guys doing with this homeschool thing? You doing okay?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Good. You're hanging in there. All right.
So.
So. You heard they're thinking of shutting the non-essential businesses down on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
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 Okay. So make
Been
sure to
talking
go to your
about that a
non-essential
lot.
places. I don't know what a non-essential place is, but go there and stock up on your ice cream and
Yeah.
coffee. There you go.
Oh yeah,
Everyone-
coffee.
Coffee.
Everyone
Yep.
come to a movie before they close the Elks down.
Yes. Try to get Leighton's company enough money to get him a paycheck or two when they shut it down.
That would be very nice.
Okay, you got it, Leighton. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the video down, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, same time.
Bye.
Thanks.
Adios.
Bye.
Sticker.
Bye.
Hi, Tom.